Publitarian Podcast.
Hello again, everybody. It's Ronald Johnson, Publitarian, coming at you again with Publitarian Podcast. And before I get into this particular episode and what I really wanted to talk about, I have some hard-hitting news that matters.
And now, news that matters.
That's right, folks. News that matters. From July 14th, 2018, Huffington Post. I hope you're sitting down for this one. A tape might exist of Trump doing something in an elevator, though exactly where that somewhere is and what that something might be, no one in media can say. That's because no one in media seems to have seen the tape or is even confident it exists. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just going to give you a second to digest that and take that in. That's hard-hitting news, and it's just an extreme blow to our side of the aisle, and I don't know how we're going to recover. I mean, there is a tape of Trump that exists where he's doing something in an elevator, and we don't know what that something is. And JK LOL, we don't even know if that tape exists. We're just kind of, you know what, the tweet should have just said, hey, we're pulling it out of our ass, folks. Here it is. Whoop, right at the butt. Enjoy. And it just gets put on the Huffington Post. Anyway, I wanted to share that with you guys because that is hard-hitting stuff. Anyway, we are up to episode 15 today. And why don't you tell us a little bit about it, announcer guy?
Oh, indeed I will. This episode addresses haters and trolls. What is a hater? A person who wallows in jealousy over your success and or existence. The people that think that they are better than you but can't seem to make it up to your level. What is a troll? It is a subhuman that lives under a virtual bridge, or in some cases, a literal basement, that gets sick entertainment or pleasure from angering you, or attempting to make you look inferior. At every walk of life, we have to deal with these bottom feeders in society. These parasites that have no marketable skills, so they insist on bringing everyone down to their inconsequential level. But we have to keep doing what we're doing because haters are going to hate, and trollers are going to troll.
That's absolutely right. Thank you, Mr. Announcer Guy, for doing that for me. That was really wordy for you. Usually you just come in and do the welcome. I guess I'm going to have to pay you more now that I did that. Anyway, you can go now. Thank you. You get haters in life when you're successful or popular, especially successful or popular, especially on social media. You got people that hate out of jealousy, and then you have people that hate because they simply like to troll or are trolls. And what is a hater, you might ask? It's a kind of an urban dictionary term that has been around for a while. It's a person that is jealous of you. So they are hating because it's just rooted deep down in a jealousy and envy. And that's why they say haters are going to hate, because it is the human condition that the basest of our society will look at someone that is doing well, or someone that is successful, someone that has good thoughts or opinions, someone that's even just minutely ahead of the other person, and it's just in that other person's most base nature to tear that person down. That is a hater. And the other one would be a troll. And what is a troll? A troll is just someone usually that is just bored on the internet looking for attention. And they are attention seekers, and they will get that attention however they can. And it's kind of like how unruly toddlers get attention. It's just, they're screaming and crying and pitching a fit because nobody's paying them any attention. And they will get that negative attention if they can, because I don't know, sometimes I think the negative attention, people respond more and there's more emotion to it, and I think that's why trolls thrive on that. But anyway, I digress. Oh, and there goes the beer fridge kicking on. For my loyal listeners, I've explained the beer fridge to you. If you hear the humming of the beer fridge in the background, that means that I am going to enjoy cold beer at some point. And for sound quality purposes, it would make the most sense in the world just to go over there and unplug the beer fridge. But I really want the cold beer to stay cold. So please just endure the humming while I finish the rest of this podcast. It'll probably cut off in a minute or two. So let's talk about haters. If someone is a hater, it's rooted in either jealousy or insecurity, or both. They're jealous of you. It's like two cars out in traffic and the car notices that the car in its peripheral vision is getting ready to pull ahead, and they do everything they can to either slam on the gas or pull ahead of that other car. You guys have been there in that traffic situation. You may have even been that person in that traffic situation. That car is inching ahead and you look in your periph and you're like, no, 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 no. I've got to get ahead of that one. It's just little minute versions of hate. See, you're doing it too. You're a hater. They can't have somebody else ahead of them. So even when they see just that inkling of someone pulling ahead of them, they start to hate. And that's kind of what it boils down to in society, a lot of times in social media as well. If you see, even on Instagram, if you see somebody's like page doing better than yours, you're someone who counts their followers, the amount of followers they have, and that's determining your self-worth. And you see like the smaller pages, especially in our little Politogram family that we have, somebody's, wanting a shout out or wanting to get bigger, and you're like, well, I mean, I don't need to sully myself with them. Well, now you're hating in the opposite direction. You can't stand to see somebody else try to attempt to get up to your level and, God forbid, surpass you. And I think that's a lot having to do with the human condition. Human society oftentimes seeks to elevate self by means of pushing others down, so the person has something to stand on and get further up this misery mountain. So how am I going to shame my side of the aisle to not be haters? Well, I know a trigger to get you to stop. Karl Marx was the original hater. Oh, that's right. Ronald's bringing it in. We knew he was going to find some way to talk about Marxism and socialism. And here I am. Karl Marx, man. The original hater. Socialism. Marxism. That entire ideology. It's always going to be in society, but Karl Marx was the original hater in modern history. And he started an entire movement based on being a hater. It has its roots in jealousy and envy disguised as the desire for fairness and equality. Marx, like every other socialist or communist or Marxist wannabe, didn't really have a real job. And he was looking at the ultra-rich getting richer, or in his own perception, and decided he needed to get a piece of that pie somehow. And the story goes on. I mean, we all know how that turned out in Russia and how that ideology from the pit of hell still gets prolificated today. So that's why you don't want to be a hater. If you're a hater, you're really close to being a communist. Oh, and the fridge stopped. There we go. Nice quiet podcast again. But anyway, yeah, Karl Marx. I'm not going to get into an entire story of Karl Marx. Pretty much the guy that founded Marxism, which has birthed into modern day leftism, which is funny because what was absent from Karl Marx, which was absent from a lot of leftists, is no real work experience and having nothing but education and degrees and no real life work. And that's usually where leftism breeds. But now I'm going off on a whole rabbit trail. Anyway, Karl Marx, the original hater. This whole ideology that's found on supposed equality, but you're really just trying to take the people above you and tear them down. And what happens with that is if you have that mindset and you're constantly trying to tear people down, even if you are successful and you tear them down, now everybody's miserable, and you're either down there with them or you have elevated yourself, climbed over their corpses, and now you're the person that you started off hating. It's just a failed ideology and it's never going to work. So I hope that has shamed you enough to where you don't want to be a hater anymore. Because I'm not saying all haters are communists. I was just telling you about one of the original haters. And maybe you can draw your own parallels and change your behavior. And to anyone listening out there that is a hater, hating never works out for the hater. Not in the long run. It may give you some kind of short-term gratification, but it's setting yourself up for long-term misery. So find a way to break that cycle and to stop hating on people that are just trying to make their own path in life. Also, Mike Cernovich, kind of a right-leaning journalist, wrote a great piece about this, and I'm just going to read a little bit of it. I'm not going to, like I said, when I'm reading articles, I'm not going to bore you by just trudging through the entire article, but I thought it was fascinating because it gave me a different perspective that I wanted to share with others on this podcast. It's on Cernovich.com. Mike Cernovich. It's a CERNOVICH.com. I'll put it in my show notes. The title of the article is The High Cost of Listening to Haters. Human nature hardwired us to give undue attention to hate, and this makes sense. We evolved in smaller communities, the so-called Dunbar number of 150 people. If 10% of people in your community hated you, the odds were high someone would murder you in a hunting accident, quote unquote. In a small community, even being hated by one or two people would be deadly. We don't live in small communities, but our minds haven't evolved to our current environment. Even I sometimes say, man, a lot of people hate me. Every time I share a link to an excellent skincare product, at least 10 people complain. When people complain, it's natural to say, maybe I should listen to them. And as science has shown, what you focus on takes on a greater significance than is rational. And that was like one of the takeaways I wanted to get there. If you were giving your focus, your attention to the hate, your focus is not on your original intent, which is delivering good content to your audience or entertaining people, making people's lives better, or making your life better as well. He continues, friends, your haters do not want you to make a living. They want you to be as miserable as they are. Trust me, I know. He then does some kind of self-serving stuff where he just talks about in the article how he seeks out his haters, like if it's a Facebook article or something, and you can actually go see who's delivering the hate, and how they look, and they're the great unwashed and all that. And I mean, that can be true because that goes back to what I was originally talking about, that the person doing the hating is rarely someone that's in your echelon. It's someone usually trying to tear you down for some kind of sick reason. But this was the next part of the article I wanted to get to that I thought was fascinating. It was called Criticism versus Hate. How can you tell when someone is hating or when they're offering criticism? In theory, that's a challenging question. In reality, critics have the same effect as haters. They are losers. They will destroy your momentum, and they must be banned from every endeavor. Like, this guy's not pulling any punches here. Critics tell you why something can't be done. How is that valuable advice? Look around and listen to people. Everyone is telling you that your idea will fail. So true. Where are the people who say, great idea, try it and see what happens, learn and move forward? Critics accomplish nothing. Avoid them. And that's just something I never thought of before. Because, I mean, we always hear about constructive criticism, and it's just, that kind of hit home to me. Anyway, the article continues. I'm going to skip down a little bit to another relevant part. Anyway, he goes on in the article and talks about all of his accomplishments and everything, and that's good. Good for him. I'm not hating at all. It's just not relevant to what I was talking about here. He also says down at the bottom here, it's okay to be bummed by the hate. And then he has in parentheses, for like 30 seconds. Focusing on hate is natural, just like a food craving is natural. Our DNA screams at us, hate equals threat. And he goes on to say, if you listen to haters, you'll conform to groupthink, and if you take a look around, you really want to be like the rest of the group. And lastly, he says, listening to the haters will leave you broke, depressed, and wondering where your life went. If you want to be like everyone else, listen to everyone else. So to sum it up, he's pretty much just saying, screw the haters and do what you do. You do you, girl. Now, on to trolls. How do we deal with trolls? Actually, the troll portion is pretty simple. You don't feed the trolls. That's been around as long as the interwebs. Don't feed the trolls. How do we feed trolls? When trolls are looking for attention, we don't feed them. There's two explanations for trolling. One, the troll is a miserable, bored human being and they have nothing better to do except bother you while you're out either making yourself happy or, more importantly, making other people happy, or they're seeking your attention. So, why give your attention to someone that doesn't matter? And they don't matter. They so desperately want to be relevant in somebody's life, even if it's a complete stranger on the internet. So, don't give them the satisfaction. Just don't deal with the troll. Do not engage. And when I say feeding the trolls, that means just responding. Even just responding to somebody that's just on your social media like Instagram and just looking for a fight. They're not even necessarily looking for a debate. They're just saying, dumb stuff on your page and tagging you, just trying to get you into some kind of fight, just trying to get you to direct any kind of attention at them, negative or otherwise. So that's how you starve the trolls. You starve the trolls by not giving them any attention. You just pretend that they don't exist. And they do magically disappear sooner or later when you do that. If you just endure and just pretend they don't exist, they will disappear. I actually got a very good troll on my Instagram recently. And I mean, I got to give the guy props because it was such a good troll that I didn't even see it until later. And I was like, oh, I got trolled. It was like very, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. It was just very highbrow. A guy came on my page. He was trying to like debate me about something. He was just a sophisticated troll because he kept talking about me and about how poor my debate techniques were when I really wasn't even trying to get into it with the guy. But in my mind, that didn't matter because the premise of his argument was incorrect, which I kept trying to bring up to him. Like, he kept telling me, like, how bad my debate skills were. And I'm back here going, okay, you're trying to tell me what color the thread is on the spool, and there's no thread on the spool. It's just like one of those things. You're starting with a false statement, and then you're trying to spin it from there. And I kept trying to get him back to that, and he wouldn't go back to that. So I kept telling him, you can be a bad as debater as you want to be. If your initial premise is wrong, then you can't debate that. And he kept coming back and telling me what a horrible debater I was, and that I should have used this technique to go back at him, and that technique. And it wasn't until almost like an hour later I realized that this was a very sophisticated troll. And he got me good. And so, like I said that all to say, just don't feed the trolls. That's the simple answer there. But more on about the debating thing. People like to debate. People like to argue, especially on the internet. It gives you this degree of anonymity, which I think also breeds haters and trolls, because there's little to no consequences for your actions. Like, you yourself could just be having a bad day and see someone else having a good day. And you know what? F that. I'm going to throw this person some shade, So that's one of the bad things about the internet is the little to no anonymity. Well, as far from a trolling aspect, I'm not trying to get into freaking net neutrality or, CIA watching us or a certain hockey puck that's in my corner that's plugged in that listens to me all the time. I'm not going to say her name or she'll wake up and tell me a corny joke. But anyway, back to debating. I just don't debate or argue on the internet. It's not productive. It's the same reason why I don't go on Twitter a lot. It's just not productive for my soul to do that. Can I debate? Yes. Will I? Very rarely, unless it's someone that I think that can be saved, like the great Herman Cain says, save the savable. If it's somebody that's just trolling or wanting to just debate me or shout at me, I have zero to little tolerance for that. And so my usual rule for that, just dealing with debaters in general, is I've got like a 2 engagement rule. Okay, person that has called me out. If I think you're not trolling me and you really just have a difference of opinion and you want to air it, okay, you get 2 engagements from me. Make it count. And then they get their 2 shots, and we might have a back and forth. They do a shot, I do a shot, back and forth, back and forth. Even if I think, and I mean, I am a lot of the times, even if I think I'm the most right person in the world and their premise is total crap, once we get to that second engagement, I cut it off. And that's fine. If they want to walk away and think they won the debate by me being quiet, then that's perfect. Go away. I've solved my problem either way. You have gone away. So I didn't mean to swerve too much into the debating topic, but like I said, people just love to argue and debate on the internet, and I don't like doing it. So it's rare that you'll see, like on my social medias, like Instagram, I won't do rarely any kind of like trolling or stuff like that. It's not productive. Like if it's a funny comment, like humor on somebody's page, like I'll do that, or some kind of like teasing, but just being like antagonizing and trolling, I don't have fun doing that. Now some people do, and that's fine. If you want to go troll some horrible liberals, you do you. I'm just saying in the long term, it ends up not being good for my soul personally. That may be something that you enjoy doing. So I'm not going to get too much into that because that's trolling and that's just a whole nother animal. But as far as haters go, like I said, haters go into hate. The best you can do is just not listen to the hate. And just remember, don't let it make you angry. You are literally living rent-free in some poor troll's head. And it's awesome. So before I wrap this podcast up, I just want to give a quick shout out to Woman from America. Thank you so much for being on the last episode. That was a lot of fun. And you also gave me the inspiration for this podcast on how to deal with haters and trolls. So thank you for that. And let's see, checking my show notes. Yeah, that will do it for me for this podcast, folks. I hope I've given you some kind of weapon to deal with trolls and haters and how they're just really inconsequential in your life. So thank you so much again for your support. I'm having record downloads on this podcast, and I'm loving it. Just thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you again on Publitarian Podcast. See you guys. Thank you.